Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of You Enjoy Life. I hope you all are doing well today. Joshua here. So yes, this channel is called You Enjoy Life, and ultimately it's about helping you tap into your joy and live your dream and find your passion. However, part of that isn't just looking at the good things, but also looking at what are the things that are holding you back from actually experiencing joy. What are the things that are holding you back from living your best life? And part of that is going back and looking in your past, looking in your present, looking at who you are. So recently something happened to me, and I found out yesterday that I was scammed. And I was scammed out of $500, and well, maybe $500, depending on what situation you're in. Like for me, it's not going to ruin me or destroy me, or I'm not going to be able to eat. But it was a lot of money, and it was a complete and total bummer. And the money is one thing, but what I made it mean was so much more. Because yesterday I was beating myself up. I felt like such a fool. I felt like an idiot. I felt like I was duped. I felt like a failure. And all these things came up. So while I want to talk to you about like the scam that happened and maybe what you can do to avoid scams, because my wife and I were involved in a gigantic sort of scandal thing like 3 or 4 years ago, and I thought I had kind of figured it out, but people are finding new ways to scam. So I want to talk about that and what you can look out for, but also the deeper meaning, which is what happens when these things happen to you. What do you make them mean, and what do you do to yourself, and what what kind of guidance can you figure out? Because You Enjoy Life is not about me coming to you and saying, hey, I've got all the answers. I've got it all figured out. I've got this perfect life. No, that is not by any means true. And I don't believe that like there is any kind of perfect thing out there. But for me, I had these experiences, and I'm committed to growing my life, to making changes, to becoming the best version of myself. And that is a lifelong journey, and it involves a lot of hardships and a lot of rough things. And Lord knows I've been on the path, and I've had many of my life can be like a roller coaster, but when you get to understand like the meaning of it all, things get a little bit better over time. You make these little changes over time, and you continue to grow. So first off, what happened? Well, this weekend, one of my favorite bands, Phish, is coming to town. And Phish is a band that, probably the most influential band in my life. And you may know about them, you may have never heard about them. Regardless of, they've changed my life in so many ways. And when I was in high school, it was like all I listened to, and a lot in college. But then I started my own band and kind of launched. So Phish kind of helped me understand music in a way that made it to be one of my biggest, most amazing, influential factors in my life. Because when I would go to these shows, I would have these epiphanies. It was like therapy. I would dance so hard, and there's a sense of community, and there's a sense of freeness and openness and wholeness. And every single show they play is completely different and unique, and they're always improvising and making things up on the spot. And it just showed me what music could be. So one of my best friends who got me into Phish when I was a kid, one of my oldest friends, is coming into town. I haven't seen him in a long time, and he's going to there's 3 shows in a row. So I knew I wasn't going to go to all of them, but I wanted to go to a couple. And I was looking online. I didn't get tickets in the first run, so I was looking, and scalpers were charging insane amounts of money for these shows, and they were sold out like instantly. And so then I started looking at other matters. I was reaching out to friends, and I was starting to get a little impatient, and I went on Craigslist. And I'm sure right when I say that, red flags come up. So I talked to some people on Craigslist, and I was getting some like just kind of weird runarounds with people. And I felt like, okay, these seem to be scammers, because there's plenty of scammers out there. So finally, one day I saw a post that had just come up, and it seemed like really legit. I talked to the person on the phone, that was very important. Nobody else wanted to talk to me on the phone. I talked to the person on the phone, and he was like, yeah, my girlfriend and I really wanted to go. She's the big fan, but she ended up having work, so we had to sell the tickets, and we just really want to make sure they're fans of Phish, because we've been talking to a lot of scalpers and scammers. And he was saying all the right things. And so I was like, okay. So I agreed to, I was like, if you send me the picture of the tickets, they look legit, I will wire you part of the money and then the rest. So he sent me the picture. It looked good. Like I said, we talked a little bit about just some personal stuff, and it all seemed totally cool. However, I think I was getting a little impatient, because I really wanted these tickets at this point. So I wired him over $500, and I did it through my bank. I did it through Zelle, which I thought Zelle was like a safe and secure way to send money, because it's through my bank. I'm sending it from one bank to another bank. I figured there's traceable, kind of thing. And of course, I sent it over. He's like, great, I got it. I'll mail you the tickets tomorrow morning. So I text him in the morning. He's like, sorry, it's going to have to be later. Then he finally said he sent them out, and he's like, I'll get you the tracking tonight. And he's like, I just got to talk to my wife. And I was starting to feel really uncomfortable. And to be honest, the moment I sent the money over, I was like, oh, I did something wrong. And I didn't feel that way before, but I think I was kind of rushing because I wanted these tickets. So that night, the night before, I sent the money over, actually, I should say, that I had this really horrible dream that I got completely scammed and ripped off, but that it was like part of some bigger conspiracy crazy thing. So the next day I was just kind of like in a state of fear, like what's going on, fear. He said he sent the tickets out, I'm not getting any sort of confirmation, I'm not hearing from him, like, sorry man, I work on the power lines, blah blah blah. Like, okay, so I didn't get any text that night. I went to sleep still feeling this sense of fear, like I screwed up. Next morning I wake up texting him, hey man, I'm getting uncomfortable, what's going on, I want my money back. Of course, nothing. I call his phone, it's disconnected. I realize I'm scammed, and I feel so freaking stupid. So at this point in my life, have been almost scammed many times. I remember being in college, and someone reached out to our band from like Africa saying that they wanted to buy like 20,000 pieces of our music. And at first we were kids, we were really excited. But I talked to my dad and he's like, it sounds like a scam. It's kind of like the whole, he used to always say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And so what we did was I kept talking to the people, but I was very cautious of what they were saying. So I was like, okay, like I'm interested in this. And the moment they were like, we need your bank account, it's like, goodbye, I know this is a scam. That's happened to me a lot before, where you get these weird emails or these calls, or you see these things online, and people make it sound like, oh, it's really simple, we get this money, we need to wire to someone's bank account, and it's like there's lots of red flags. And there was definitely red flags in this, and when I looked back I saw the red flags, and I wasn't really sure why I did it, because I don't fall for scams anymore. But I realized, there's so many more scams out there in the world. Different people are finding different ways. Like sometimes it's as simple as sending you an email. There's these things like phishing, where you get an email that looks just like Google, or looks like whatever, some your bank or something. It looks just like it, except that if you check in the actual name where the email came from, it's some weird email address, but otherwise it looks like it. And if you don't see that, you might click on it. It might say like, hey, we need you to log into your bank account for XYZ, and you click it, you type in your password, then they have all your information. So there's lots of ways to get scammed. I'm not doing this to scare you by any means, but the point is to be aware and check in. Had I not been rushing this process, just like when I was looking at tickets before, I would have been more aware. I would have checked in with my intuition, checked my gut, and known that this is probably a bad deal. First off, I also should have talked to my wife. Had I told her more about the situation, she probably would have said, hey, red flag, red flag, red flag. So why did I do this, and why did I allow this to happen when I haven't in so many years? Well, I realized when I talked to her that what happened when I realized I was duped, I felt really stupid. I felt like an idiot. I felt like a failure. I felt like I wasn't worthy and deserving. And what happens is, for me, there's something that happened to me when I was younger, or a pattern of things that when something happens now, I tell myself a story. And this is a very common thing. Something happens to us when we're a kid, or at some point in our life, and then we start telling us this story that we're not deserving, or that we're not worthy. And that's what I was doing. Yes, I made a mistake. I made an honest mistake, and I was probably rushing through things a bit because I knew we were both busy in work, and I had my friend coming in town, and I really just wanted to get the tickets and not have to think about it, and not have to go to the show and scalp. Like, I wanted to have some sense of security. And I think deep down I also wanted to prove that I could figure this out and be smart and do my thing. So there's some ego in there for sure. But also there's a piece of me that believes that when I fail, I'm an idiot. When I fail, I am stupid. When I fail, I am not worthy. And that piece has nothing to do with the thing that happened. And that is the piece that's important to look at. Again, it's important, if you're on the internet, whatever you are, like, be careful, be cautious of scams. People get scammed all the time. I called my bank, and they said they couldn't really do anything because Zelle apparently is actually not secure. I did not know that Zelle is not a safe way to send money. Like, you can send to friends and family, but it's not a safe, secure way where they can trace it and track it, which I was shocked, because to me it's like, you're using a bank app and you're sending it to another bank. They can't look to see where it went. They're like, all you can do is go to the police, file a report. I went to the police. Of course, they said they can do nothing, and they were like, listen, this stuff happens all the time. So yes, this happens all the time. So I wanted to share this video because I wanted to get it out there. But I think what isn't talked about, when people get scammed, you become the victim. And it's like you had someone who ripped you off, some bad, evil, whatever it is, person, and this could be the same for theft. I've been robbed before. I've had things happen to me where it's like someone is doing something and taking that from you. So first off, the person that does the thing, it's easy to be upset with them. It's easy to blame and be upset, and that makes total sense. I totally get that. But at the same time, I've learned over the years, because I've had some run-ins with some bad people in really bad situations, that whatever they're going through, whatever led them to having to steal money from me, that's the life that they're in right now. And I can actually have compassion and empathy for them. I don't condone the behavior, but if somebody has to live their life stealing from other people because that's the only way they can survive or whatever it is, then I can have empathy, because that's got to be really rough. I once had someone break into my car and try to steal something from me, and that's a whole nother story when I was a PI. And I was really upset at first, but then I realized that like whatever led them, whatever in their life, whatever their circumstances, their situations are, like I just feel really fortunate, and blessed that I don't have to do those things. So yes, someone can take money from me, and that's horrible, but like there's always a reverse side to it. So there is that piece as well. But again, at the end of the day, for me, what did I make it mean, and how was I beating myself up yesterday? Because I was really beating myself up. I felt like a failure, not to myself only, but to my wife. I felt like, wow, I let her down. How is she going to trust me if I got scammed? I am stupid. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I should just, whatever, just go live in a cave. And I went to that place because I, as a kid, I don't know, like if it was just one moment or lots of different moments, but at some point in my life I convinced myself that if I make mistakes, if I screw up, that I'm an idiot, that I'm a bad person, that I'm not worthy. And this happens a lot with people who, I hear this a lot with people who have parents that get divorced. They internalize it. They say, well, I'm a little kid. They can't fully understand it, but it's like there's two parents fighting. I'm this little kid. It must be my fault. It must be my fault that these two people are fighting because, I'm here and they're fighting and I'm just here. So I must be the one to blame. And you hold on to that your whole life. And that comes out in so many different ways. And those are the things that I'm here to kind of urge you to look at, because I've been looking at it for myself and thinking of, why have I done that? So I want to tell you one more story, a gigantic scam that happened, without getting into too many details, but it plays into this sort of like worthiness and thing that I went through. And I hope this might, sort of click something in your mind. So maybe about 4 years ago, we were invited to go to this amazing experience in Costa Rica. And it was a beautiful place, a 65-acre, like there was 600 mango trees and papayas everywhere and tropical fruit, and there was a pool and outdoor showers, and it was very rustic, and they had like, you could stay in these really cool like kind of cabana type things, and it was just beautiful. It was a tiny home where the people that ran the place lived, and we met them, and it was a husband and wife, and they were super cool, and we had this great connection. And there was, this event that they were throwing, 100 people, and they invited us to be part of it, and we met the founders, and we made all these great friends, and we were doing like workshops in the jungle, and my wife and I led some workshops, and there were speakers and great food, and it was just like, I was like, this is it. This is the life that I want to live. This is this amazing place. It's like tropical paradise. I could see us coming down here all the time, throwing events and doing all this stuff. So towards the end of the event, we're talking to the owner who we're getting close with, and he's like, this place is divided up into a lot of different properties, and I have people that have been putting deposits down on the properties, and it all seemed, like really intriguing and interesting. He's like, what you can do is you can build a home. You can build a tiny home, you can build a bigger home, and the idea is to create this sort of eco-village retreat where people come and they relax, and there's events, and there's food, and, you have your own little house. So we were really intrigued by it, and we kind of started to go through the process to see what it would cost and what it would look like. And at the time, we were looking to invest money into a home. So this is like big, for us, like the most money we had ever had, and so we were really, interested and excited about it. And basically what happened was we gave a really gigantic deposit down to reserve the land, but we had a contract. We had, it was all, everything was permitted, everything was like kind of by the books. We had a contract that said, that we were investing this money into the land to get the land, whatever, and that if we chose to back out, we had 1 year to back out, and they would refund us all our money. So there was a safety net to it, and it was legally binding and all that stuff. So we felt good about that. And then we started kind of coming down and working on plans, and we were working with this amazing architect that they had, like this like famous architect in Costa Rica. And again, we had all the permits that were going on. We were paying for permits, and people were coming out for sites. So it felt very legit and legal and everything. But my wife started getting some really kind of weird intuitive like hits that something wasn't right. And for me, I realized that like intuition and fear have this really weird kind of line where sometimes deciding between what's your gut and what's your fear can be challenging. I'm learning that like when it's like more of a heady thing, it's fear, and when it's more of a body thing, like if you feel something just not right in your body, it's probably more of your gut instinct, which is something that is good typically to go after. Whereas the head, the fear, like of course, even when we bought this house, everything's totally legit and great. When I bought it, I still had fear. It's not like I'm not going to have fear, but distinguishing between fear and intuition can be challenging. So what was going on was I thought she was having fear about this because this is this big decision, and I wanted to prove to her and to both of us that we could do this. And I had this feeling inside that, you know what, we had had some hardships in the past. We had been living in New York City. I knew she didn't want to live in New York City, and I wanted to create this great life for us. So I was like, my sort of, masculine energy was like, no, we can do this. We can create something amazing together. We're going to do this together. We're going to build this beautiful home. We're going to host retreats and workshops for couples, and it's going to be awesome. So I had this like very strong hold on, this is what we're going to do, and don't worry about the fear. I'm positive. I'm optimistic. But the truth is, I also wasn't really allowing myself to see, because there was this inner child that just wanted to be accepted. There was this inner child that wanted to prove that I could do this for this person, instead of really looking at the facts. So as time is going by, we're getting close. We're like a few weeks away from our wedding, and we had all the plans drawn up. We're getting ready to break ground and to start building, and we had to just send over the next wire transfer. Well, the same amount, it was a huge amount of money. And now like there's some weird things going on. I'm even starting to feel it because it's getting so deep into this process. And she's like, you know what? She's like, I'm putting my foot down. Something is not right. So we ended up calling someone that we knew that worked with this person. And they sort of spilled the beans in the whole thing. And they basically said that this family that ran this property, and they had other properties in Costa Rica, they were lying, and they were A, saying that all these people were investing, which wasn't true. B, that they were raising a ton of money. They said they had raised like $1 million to build this whole thing out in this wellness center, and the truth was they actually weren't. They were taking out all these loans because they were so in debt, and they were at risk of losing their properties, and they were just doing any money that we were giving them, instead of going towards the house, was really just going towards like their own living expenses. And it was just a total mess, and there was a lot of things that were out of integrity. And we ended up, so we called him the next day and said, hey, we're out. And he was very shocked and didn't know why, and we tried to bring it up with him. He danced around it, and that was another thing. Anytime that we'd speak to him, we'd ask him questions, we'd never get a clear answer. There was always like this sort of dance, but by the end of it you were confused and you forgot what you asked. So it was very good, and I don't know whether this is something he was trying to do or just it was instinctual or he'd learned, I don't know, but he was very good at like dancing around our question and kind of making us forget and twist it all up. So it was very weird. It was very frustrating. And so we were devastated to find this out. But we said, hey, we want our money back. And they're like, yes, of course. We're really sorry to hear you're leaving, but we'll give you our money back. And that's when everything started happening. We started finding out from friends and his wife, all these things that were like really bad that were going on that we didn't see. And what we realized is when we first came there was that experience that was amazing that we were part of, and that had nothing to do with the owners. They just happened to get that contract to do this really amazing event, and we ended up having all these great friends, which I'm so grateful for. But to this day, 3 or 4 years later, we have not gotten our money back. And a lot of people were like, you just need to go, like there's no chance, these people are scammers, they're not going to give your money back. When we talked to his wife who had left him, and he took all her money, and it was this crazy thing. So it was really rough, and it really, really, really tested my relationship with my wife, because it was devastating. We were just about to get married, and that was our entire savings essentially for a home. We had to delay all that and delay a big dream of ours. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to share this is because, yes, of course, people hear Costa Rica and they're like, yeah, of course, there's scams going on all the time. But this felt much different. And we weren't the only people, apparently, that got scammed in this way. And there were different of course, different ways. Sometimes people will go to buy land in Costa Rica and find out that no one even owns the land. They just sold them some bullcrap title that isn't real, and then they're out of money. So that happens too. But this felt more legit because we were spending a lot of time down there and talking to them. And the point is, yes, we lost the money and that was horrible. And now, we're doing okay, and we've worked really hard to kind of be able to buy a home and create a new life for ourselves. And we learned our lesson. Obviously, the lesson is the huge part. One of the biggest lessons was what I also made that mean and why I wasn't allowing myself to see what was going on. So it also sends back to the self-worth thing. I felt in order to be a worthy husband that we had to do this thing together, and I had to prove to my wife that we could create this awesome thing together and build this new life for ourselves. And because I was holding on to that idea, I wasn't allowing myself to see the truth. And so this ticket scam thing that just happened is so much smaller, but in a way it's like the same kind of thing. Because when that all happened in Costa Rica, I beat the crap out of myself emotionally. I was so down and so depressed, and I felt so worthless because I was like, this is my fault, I am stupid. And some people are like, no, there's just bad people out there that scam people, it's not your fault. And that's fine. I can accept that I did something wrong, because I did. I didn't listen to my gut, and I can learn a lesson. And I actually want to read a Bruce Lee quote real quick. So Bruce Lee is one of my biggest idols, and he has this great, posthumous, of course, there's a great Instagram called just Bruce Lee, and I thought maybe his family post for him, but there was a quote they posted yesterday that I thought was awesome. It just was like kind of the perfect timing. It came up, I was like, this is exactly what I need to hear right now for what happened. Defeat is a state of mind. No one is ever defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality. To me, defeat in anything is merely temporary, and its punishment is but an urge for me to exert greater effort to achieve my goal. Defeat simply tells me that something is wrong in my doing. It is a path leading to success and truth. So I think that is one huge important part of this. When we feel defeated, when we feel like we lose, because to me, I'm not someone who looks at life as like winners and losers, but when we do something and we feel like we lost, or we got cheated or whatever it is, it's like there's a loss that happens. It's like I felt really defeated yesterday. I felt like someone tricked me, someone one-upped me. It's like, fool me once, shame on me, kind of situation. So I was really beating myself up about it. But defeat is a state of mind, and the state of mind that I was going was the worthlessness thing. And if that's something that you relate to, I want you to look at that and think about where that really comes from. I'm still exploring. I have a much better sense now of where that comes from for me, within my family and dynamic and growing up. But for me, when this thing happened, I told myself that I was worthless or I wasn't deserving. And I remember my wife saying yesterday, she's like, are you kidding me? Like, of course you're deserving to go to these shows. It's like, you're not worthless. Like, why are you even saying that? And it took her saying that for me to be like, oh yeah, I do deserve this. And I got tricked, and I have to look at that, and I have to look at what the lesson was so that I can actually grow and move forward. And I feel, now having experienced that, yesterday was rough. But as the day went through and I was kind of processing and even journaling and writing and thinking about it, I realized that, what? Not only am I worthy, and yes, I made a mistake, but that's okay. I'm not worthless because I made a mistake. It's like, how often do we do something wrong and we beat ourselves up because we think we're so bad? In life, there's so many mistakes. We make mistakes. That's how we learn and we grow. The whole point of life, I believe, is to continue to see who you are and to grow and to change and to achieve those things. I actually have a mentorship program. I'm working on a bigger one right now, but I do one-on-one mentorship right now. And the people that I've been working with, I only started after Brothers Green really ended, but it's been absolutely amazing the last 3 or 4 months, just working with different people and helping them achieve their goals and being someone who can be like a sounding board who's gone through a lot of this stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, shoot me an email, because I'm taking a few more people right now. But it's a great way if you're just, kind of in a situation where you need some sort of reflection. I know for me, like coaching, therapy, different forms of, help have been the way that I've really been able to achieve this, because I can't do this alone. If you think you can do it alone, great. Good luck, maybe you can, but I've realized that I need support, and that's why I want to support people that are maybe like where I was when I was getting out of college, and I was kind of lost and confused and trying to figure out what I really want to do in my life. And to be able to help people that I've been working with to get clear on that has been one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done. So that is one piece, but I also, again, I'm not perfect. I'm not here saying that I've got it all figured out by any means, but I'm doing the work. I'm doing the things that it takes to grow my life. And I believe it takes a lot of vulnerability and courage. I could have just internalized everything that happened to me yesterday with the ticket scam thing and just, posted on Facebook, oh, I got scammed, I'm so upset, like, give me your pity. But that's not what it's about. It's about looking at the reaction that I had to the situation and why. When I got scammed, why did I have that reaction? And what does that really say about my life? Because if I have that reaction with a scam, I probably have that all the time. Anytime I make a mistake, and this is how it happens to me. Whenever I make a mistake, when I feel like I've upset my wife or a friend or even fans, I create this story. I have this lie that I tell myself that I'm not worthy, that I'm an idiot, that I'm not deserving. And for me to actually get that highlighted, that's where the win comes in. That's where the lesson comes in. I get to see, yes, this bad thing happened and I lost money and I probably am not going to go to fish now and not to spend time with my friends and have this inspiring experience. But it's not about that. It's about what did it make it mean and what can I learn from that. And actually this whole ticket scam experience has really inspired me to remember that I am freaking awesome, and that yes, I will make mistakes, but it's not going to help me to make a mistake and to assume that I'm some idiot, bad failure of a person. And why that's there is something that I'm actively working on, actively growing, actively exploring. Every time I see it come up, it's like I can remind myself, oh wait, okay, I tell myself I'm an idiot, but is that really true? Because it's easy to say, okay, you're an idiot, you're a failure, and then go into what happens to me is I shrink in. Even yesterday I went to the cops, and then after I got a donut, because that's like my, when I'm depressed, I go eat sweets and things and guilty pleasure stuff. I got a donut, and it's like I went and I did that, and I kind of shrunk into myself. But now, because I'm actually growing and changing, instead of being in that state for a while, after it was over, that other piece of me clicks in, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not worthless. Yeah, this bad thing happened to me, and that sucks, but I'm not worthless. I'm not deserving of having bad things happen to me all the time. I'm not some idiot who can't do anything. No. Own up to the fact that you made a mistake, that you probably should have trusted your intuition more. Learn, don't do that next time. This is not going to happen to me again. And see where that came from so you can get over that. And now it's easier. So now, instead of just shrinking into a ball for days, now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's okay. I made a mistake, and I'm not some worthless idiot. I'm actually a good person who's doing their best and learning and growing, and I can just move forward. But the one thing that I've really realized about this is that there was a time in my life where I felt like I just needed to be optimistic all the time, and I felt like I really needed to say, you know what, everything's great. It's silver lining on everything. The bad things, the good things, it was all just yeah, it's all great. It's all just for a higher purpose. And I had the philosophy down, but I didn't have the emotional side down. What I realized was I was telling myself and externally telling people, oh, something bad happened. Oh, who cares? Everything has a purpose. It's all karma, all this stuff. But I wasn't allowing myself to deal with the emotion, and I was pushing it down and I was hiding from it. So what I allowed myself yesterday, which I feel really grateful for, is to actually feel those things. I allowed myself to feel the depression. I allowed myself to feel down on myself and to beat it up. I didn't just push it down and internalize it and just let it build and build and build. I allowed myself to feel yes, I'm stupid, I screwed up. And then once I went through that, then I could work through that emotion. If I try to just push it away, then it's just going to build up and get worse and worse over time. But I allowed myself to work through it. I allowed myself to see why it was there, where it came from, and what I can do to start getting rid of those negative self-talk thoughts. So it's been really great talking to everybody. I appreciate the platform. I think leaving Brothers Green was really tough at first because I had a lot of identity attached to this big, having this gigantic audience and all these people. But I'd much rather speak to a small group of people that are interested in this stuff than do something that I don't necessarily feel aligned with. So I still have plenty of cooking videos, music videos, but this channel is really just meant to be an expression of what I'm going through in the moment, not as an expert, but as someone who is living life to the best of their abilities and learning and growing. And I love all the comments and the support because it also helps me see things different ways. There's so many different opinions out there, and I think everyone has something valuable to give. So thank you guys for listening to the story. If you've been scammed or you're worried about it or whatever, know that it's okay. just be smart, be careful, just make sure you're asking lots of questions. If you get a bad feeling, it's probably best to walk away. It's probably not worth whatever the thing is. But if something has happened to you, like, look for the deeper lesson. What did you tell yourself? So I urge you and encourage you to do some writing right now. What are the things that you tell yourself when you fail and, you know, when you do something wrong? And what does that say about you, and what can you do to change that? Again, if you email me, click below at youenjoylifemusic at gmail.com. I'm opening a couple more slots for mentorship now. I feel like I can take on a few more people, and I would love to help you just get clear in your life and kind of what it looks like without getting too much details. We have diff calls throughout the month. We do checkups. We do like a long hour-and-a-half call where we go through all your goals and the things you're interested in and what you're feeling, and I give you homework and just keep you accountable, and it's really fun. So anyhow, Joshua here checking out. Peace.